My wife's quiet contempt showed up in the form of a $15 gift card on my birthday. For a meal that matches your ambitions, the card read, in her flawless handwriting. She had no idea what kind of ambition was really burning inside me. While she was clawing her way up the corporate ladder, doing whatever it took, I was pouring my time and focus into the most important investment of my life. It's often the quiet guy you've written off that turns out to be the biggest threat. My name's Ryan Clark. I'm 39 years old. For the last 11 years, I've been working as a civil engineer, focusing on sustainable infrastructure. It's not the sort of job that lands you in magazine articles or gets people whispering at cocktail parties, but it's work that matters. I build bridges, tunnels, and water systems designed to last long after I'm gone. My projects were solid, reliable, and built to endure, unlike my marriage, which was starting to crack in places I hadn't expected. Things really started unraveling about 3 years ago, right after I passed on a promotion that would have meant uprooting the whole family and moving to Dallas. Our daughter Olivia was 13, and our son Ethan was 10 at the time. Both of them were doing great in school. Olivia had just made the competitive swim team, something she worked really hard for. And Ethan had finally been paired with teachers who understood how to help him with his ADHD. Pulling them out of that environment felt wrong, so I said no to the move. When I told Samantha that night, she just stared at me and said, "You've got to be kidding me." She was still in her work outfit from her job in marketing, standing in the middle of our kitchen. That new position would have bumped her into the six-figure range. "Yeah, I know exactly what it was," I told her, keeping my voice steady. "But I also know what's best for our kids." That's when she slammed her wine glass down on the counter and snapped, "What about what I need? Another year stuck in this mediocrity?" From that day on, mediocrity became her go-to insult. Our 4-bedroom house in a great school district suddenly wasn't good enough. My dependable Toyota became something to be embarrassed by. Even my steady career and its slow but sure growth became a symbol of everything she resented. 5 months later, Samantha landed a job at Summit Creative Group, one of the top firms in our state. Overnight, her world filled with galas, client dinners, and team-building weekends. And her boss, Mark Harris, started coming up a lot in conversation, especially during the few family dinners we still had. Mark thinks, or at Mark's Lake House, or Mark says, it became a pattern. I noticed how her wardrobe changed, the new perfume, how late she stayed out. I wasn't clueless. I just kept hoping she'd remember what we had built. I poured all my energy into being there for Olivia and Ethan, who were clearly confused about why their mom barely seemed present anymore. What I didn't realize was that the solid foundation I'd spent years laying was about to be hit with a force I never saw coming. And the skills I used to design structures strong enough to survive disaster? They were about to be put to the test in my own life. The moment everything shifted was my 39th birthday. I wasn't expecting a big celebration, just dinner with the kids, maybe a card. Samantha had been cold and distant for months, only interacting with me when it came to chores or parenting. Still, birthdays used to mean something in our house. That morning, I spotted a small envelope on the kitchen counter. Inside was a $15 Wendy's gift card, along with a note in Samantha's signature script. "For a meal that matches your ambitions. Happy birthday to my mediocre husband." I froze right there, coffee mug halfway to my mouth, like someone had gut-punched me. Just then, Olivia walked in and saw me holding the card. "Is that your birthday present, Dad?" she asked, her face lighting up with innocent curiosity. I slipped the card into my pocket and forced a grin. "Just a little joke from Mom," I said. "Hey, how about pancakes this morning?" And from there, the day just got worse. Samantha didn't come home that night. She sent a quick text, "Client emergency." I tucked the kids into bed and told them their mom had to stay late at work. Ethan looked up at me and asked, "Can we do a proper birthday party for you this weekend?" "Of course, buddy," I said, ruffling his hair. "But honestly, every day with you two is already the best gift I could ask for." After they were asleep, I sat alone in my office, just staring at that card. 16 years together, and she reduced it all to a $15 slap in the face. I opened my laptop and typed in, "Mark Harris Summit Creative Group." Up until then, I'd avoided digging. I wanted to believe there was still some innocence left. But that night, that was over. My phone buzzed. It was a message from David Carter, my old college roommate, now working as a corporate lawyer. "Sorry I missed your birthday, man. Want to grab lunch tomorrow? There's something about hitting rock bottom that clears the fog." Over sandwiches the next day, I finally told David the truth. "She's involved with her boss," I said, laying it all out. David's expression hardened. That's rough, Ryan. What do you plan to do? I'm not sure. Divorce seems likely, but with the kids? I shook my head. It's complicated. David leaned in a bit, lowering his voice. There's something else I think you should hear. Summit Creative Group, they're not doing so well. Word going around is they've lost some big clients. And there are whispers about financial misconduct. I raised an eyebrow. What kind of misconduct? The kind the SEC might look into, David said carefully. Mark Harris has a habit of cutting corners. And this is off the record, but their parent company is scrambling. They're quietly trying to bring in new investors to avoid a public disaster. The big shareholders are panicking. I sat back, suddenly feeling strangely calm. How much would it take to become one of those major shareholders? David blinked in surprise. Wait, you're not seriously considering? I've got patents, I cut in. 3 of them. They were for sustainable infrastructure components, things I'd developed over the years. I'd had acquisition offers sitting on my desk forever, but I never accepted them. Not because they weren't good. Because of Samantha. David nodded slowly, putting it together. You didn't want to rock the boat for the family. Exactly. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out the Wendy's gift card, placing it between us on the table. But now I've got nothing left to lose. David stared at the card, then back at me. I'll make a few calls. But Ryan, are you sure you want to do this? Revenge doesn't usually play out the way people think. This isn't about revenge, I said, more certain than I'd felt in a long time. It's about justice and making sure my kids have a future. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Legal meetings, negotiations, endless paperwork. I ended up selling my patents to a clean tech company for $4.3 million. Way more than I ever imagined they were worth. With David's help, I launched a shell company, Ironcrest Partners LLC, to buy into Summit quietly, without anyone connecting the dots. At home, I kept playing the part of the clueless husband. Samantha didn't notice my longer hours. She was rarely home to begin with. But the kids? They felt it. They noticed. One night, I walked into the living room and found Olivia sitting there alone in the dark. Sweetheart, what are you doing up? She didn't even look at me when she spoke. Are you and Mom getting divorced? Her voice was so small, but it hit me hard. I don't know yet, I admitted. But no matter what happens between your mom and me, you and Ethan will always come first. You're the most important part of my life. She doesn't act like she loves us, Olivia said, almost in a whisper. She missed my swim meet yesterday. Again, because of Mark. Her voice tightened when she said his name. I was floored. You know about Mark? Olivia rolled her eyes, that classic 13-year-old move. Dad, I'm not a baby. She's always talking about him, texting him. She smells different when she comes home late. That one stung. I pulled her close and hugged her tight. I'm so sorry you're going through this. But I promise, I'm working on fixing it. Are you going to fight for us? She asked, her voice muffled in my shoulder. With everything I've got, I said. That's what dads do. The very next day, David called. We've acquired 19% of Summit's shares, spread across different channels. The big investors are jumping ship. They know something's coming. But there's more. What? Mark Harris has been doctoring client invoices, he said, charging top-dollar fees and delivering budget-level work. He's pocketing the difference. You can prove that. With access to their financial system? Absolutely. I thought of Samantha's fancy clothes, the late nights, her disdain for the life we built. That $15 gift card had been her way of saying I was beneath her. She had no idea I now had a stake in the very company she worshipped. And soon, I'd be sitting at the boardroom table, faced with one decision, end her affair. Let's keep going, I said. How much more do we need for controlling interest? At home, Samantha kept changing, like she was shedding her old self completely. One evening, I was helping Ethan build a popsicle stick bridge for his science project when she walked in late. She glanced at the model and smirked. How fitting, she said. Like father, like son, building little things that don't go anywhere. I felt Ethan stiffen beside me. We're actually testing load distribution, I said calmly. If we scale it up, this design could hold over 55 pounds. Fascinating, she said, deadpan. I've been helping Mark prep for the Stonehill pitch. It's a $22 million campaign. Ryan, do you even know what that kind of success looks like? I looked her in the eye. Yeah, I think I'm starting to. Later that night, after Ethan was in bed, I found her in our bedroom stuffing clothes into an overnight bag. Another emergency? I asked. She didn't look up. The Stonehill team needs last-minute changes. I'll be at the office all night. With Mark. She paused for a moment, then answered. Yes. With Mark, she said flatly. He's the creative director. That's how business works, Ryan. And is business all it is? I asked. That's when she finally looked at me. Her face was cold, unreadable. What exactly are you implying? I think you know. That hit a nerve. She scoffed, her voice sharp. This is exactly why you're stuck in a dead-end job. You never see opportunities. You don't recognize ambition. You're so happy living your mediocre little life that you try to pull everyone else down with you. I didn't take the bait. Not this time. The kids miss you, I said quietly. They'll understand one day, she replied, zipping up her bag. Success requires sacrifice. Once she left, I turned on my laptop and opened my secure email. David had sent the latest update. Ironcrest now owned 27% of Summit's parent company. We were just 4% away from being able to call a vote of no confidence against Mark Harris. That night, I made another call to a private investigator David recommended. I needed hard evidence, not just of the financial fraud, but of the affair too. Not for revenge. This was about protecting my kids in the custody fight I knew was coming. The pieces were lining up. My entire career had been about building things that could hold up under pressure. Now I was building something else, a future where my kids were safe, and the truth couldn't stay buried. The board meeting was set for a Wednesday morning in the company's downtown headquarters. By the Friday before, we'd secured 35% ownership, enough to move. David had walked me through every detail, every procedure, but nothing could really prepare me for stepping into that room. I arrived early, wearing a tailored suit I'd bought just for this new chapter, one Samantha had never seen. The security guy glanced at his list. Mr. Clark? You're not on here. I represent Ironcrest Partners, I said, handing over the documents. We're the largest shareholder as of last week. Within minutes, I was being led to the boardroom. Executives were gathered, sipping coffee, shaking hands. Mark Harris stood at the head of the table, dressed in a sleek, expensive suit. Confident. Polished. He didn't recognize me. Why would he? I was just the husband of the woman he thought he'd outsmarted. The chairman called the meeting to order. Then he said, "We have a new major stakeholder with us today." Every head turned. Ryan Clark, I said clearly, representing Ironcrest Partners. We currently hold 35% of company shares. I watched Mark's face change from casual interest to confusion. He whispered something to the CFO. Phones lit up. I started. When the agenda reached Executive Performance Review, I raised my hand. Ironcrest Partners would like to express serious concerns about Summit Creative Group's financial reporting under current leadership. Silence. The chairman leaned forward. Mr. Clark, those are significant allegations. Do you have evidence? I do, I said, holding up a folder. For the past 19 months, Summit has been systematically overbilling clients and delivering subpar work. The excess funds were routed through shell companies, ultimately leading to accounts tied to Mark Harris. The room exploded. Mark stood up, red-faced. This is insane. Who even are you? The chairman pounded the gavel. Mr. Harris, please. I've prepared documentation for every board member, I said. I nodded to the assistant, who began handing out folders. Inside were everything: bank records, fake invoices, client complaints, internal emails. As they flipped through the pages, Mark's face went pale. Then, recognition hit him. You're Samantha's husband, he muttered. Yes, I said calmly. But that's got nothing to do with the crimes detailed in those folders. This is personal, he shouted, his voice desperate. He's doing this because of Samantha. This is harassment. The chairman was flipping through the pages. Mr. Harris, personal matters aside, these documents appear legitimate. And very serious. He looked at me. Mr. Clark, I move for a vote of no confidence in Mr. Harris's leadership and immediate suspension pending a full audit. The vote was quick. 7 in favor. 3 against. That was it. Security came in. Mark resisted, then turned to me, seething. You'll regret this. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I stood my ground. Actually, I know exactly who I'm dealing with. That's why we're here. As the meeting wrapped up, my phone buzzed. A text from Samantha. What on earth did you do? Mark's freaking out. He says you ruined everything. How? I didn't answer. When I got home, she was already there, pacing the living room like a storm in heels. Explain yourself, she snapped. How did you get in that boardroom? What did you do to Mark? Where are the kids? I asked, calm as ever. They're with your mother. Ryan, stop avoiding the question. I set my briefcase down. I didn't do anything to Mark. He did it to himself. I just exposed it. Oh, please, she scoffed. What? Did you sneak into a closed board meeting? Using what money? Your regular engineering paycheck. I looked her dead in the eyes. I sold my patents. The ones you always mocked as me just tinkering in the garage. I said, well, those patents were worth $4.3 million. Samantha froze. For a moment, she couldn't speak. I used the money to start Ironcrest Partners, I went on. Then I quietly bought up enough shares to control Summit's parent company. The board voted to suspend Mark based on proof of financial fraud. This is insane, she whispered. You really did all this just to get back at me? Over what? I reached into my wallet and pulled out that cursed Wendy's gift card. I laid it on the coffee table like a final nail in the coffin. This wasn't about the gift card, Samantha. That was just the last straw. You've been cutting me down, being unfaithful and distant with the kids for over a year. While you played your little fantasy with Mark, I was building something real. So this is revenge, she snapped, voice bitter. No, I said, calm as ever. This is consequence. Mark broke the law, and now he's facing the fallout. I sat down across from her. And now, so are we. Tears welled up in her eyes. Maybe real, maybe not. I honestly couldn't tell anymore. What happens now? Professionally? Summit's going to be audited top to bottom. Mark might face criminal charges. Personally, I paused. I filed for divorce. The papers are in my briefcase. Divorce? She shouted. You can't just walk away from 16 years of marriage. You already did, I said. The night you chose Mark. The day you decided our kids weren't worth your time. The moment you gave me that $15 fast food card for my birthday, with a note that mocked me. She sank onto the couch like all the air had left her body. The kids are going to hate me, she whispered. No, I said firmly. I won't let that happen. They'll know we both love them, even if we can't be together anymore. I've requested primary custody, but I made sure there's generous visitation for you. They need their mom, just not the version of you they've seen lately. Her eyes narrowed. And if I fight this? I met her glare without flinching. Then we faced the consequences. But I have all the facts. Your actions, your absence, how the kids were affected. And now, I have the means to ensure their well-being. She looked at me, really looked. And for the first time in a long while, there was no contempt in her eyes. It wasn't love either. More like surprise. I never thought you had this in you, she said quietly. That was your mistake, I replied. One of many. Everything started moving fast after that. Mark's suspension hit the news, and the financial probe made waves in the business world. Samantha moved out, said she needed space. The kids stayed with me. It was both a relief and a heartbreak. They still missed their mom. How could they not? One night, Olivia came into the office while I was reviewing the custody paperwork. Dad, can I ask you something? Of course, I said, setting everything aside. She sat across from me. Did you get Mom's boyfriend fired? I thought about how to answer that one. I exposed what he was doing, I said. It was the board that decided to suspend him. But you did it because of what he and Mom did to you, right? I nodded slowly. That was part of it. But mostly because he was stealing and lying. Someone had to stop it. Olivia looked thoughtful. Ethan thinks you're like a superhero who took down the bad guy. I smiled. I'm no superhero, Olivia. Just a dad doing his best to protect what matters. She hesitated. Is Mom a bad guy too? I moved to sit beside her. No. Your mom made some bad choices. Hurtful ones. But she still loves you and Ethan. That hasn't changed. She's been calling me. Crying sometimes. My heart clenched. What does she say? That she made a mistake. That she wants to come back. Olivia looked up at me. Is she going to? Not to live here, I said gently. But she'll always be your mom. She's not going anywhere in that sense. The next morning, Mark made his move. I got an alert from my bank. Someone had tried to access my accounts using personal data that should have been private. Then David called. Ryan, someone's snooping around Ironcrest, he said. Old colleagues, even your college professors. They're digging. Mark, I said. He's panicking. Looks like it. Also, Samantha filed a countersuit. What? She's claiming you used marital funds without her knowledge to build Ironcrest. Says she wants half of everything. Claims emotional distress. Says this was all a public humiliation campaign. She's teaming up with him, I said. Of course she is. David sighed. We've done everything by the book. But if you want this over fast, for the kids, we could go public with what the PI found. The hotel meetings. No, I said, cutting David off firmly. I won't drag my kids through some public circus. There's got to be another way. That afternoon, a text popped up from an unknown number. This isn't over. You destroyed what I built for years. I'll make sure justice is served. Attached was a photo, my house, taken that same day, from across the street. But I didn't feel fear. Just a sharp, cold clarity. Mark had officially crossed a line. This wasn't business anymore. He was threatening my home, my children. I called the police immediately, then my security consultant. By sundown, we had a new security system in place and a protection detail posted. I wasn't going to be intimidated. Not when it came to my family. The temporary custody hearing was set for Wednesday morning. That same morning, as I was about to leave, Samantha showed up unannounced. She looked different, more subdued. Conservative dress, no flashy labels. Not her usual designer image. We need to talk, she said. I've got court in an hour, I told her, checking my watch. That's why I'm here. Call off the lawyers, Ryan. Let's settle this ourselves. I studied her face. Last I heard, she was demanding half of Ironcrest and accusing me of emotional abuse. She sighed. Mark pushed me to do all that. He was furious, telling me to go for everything. And now he's looking at criminal charges. His career's ruined. And I see things more clearly. That's one way to put it, I said. But my voice wasn't angry. Just tired. I don't want to fight you for the kids anymore, she said quietly. You were right. I haven't been there for them. Even before all this. I looked at her, unsure. What changed? Olivia called me, she said, her voice breaking a little. She asked if I loved you, and the kids, or just loved Mark and being important. That question, it crushed me, Ryan. I felt a flicker of sympathy. As much as she'd hurt me, she was still their mother. The kids need you, Samantha, I said. That's never been the question. The real question is, do they need this version of you? The one who walked out, who mocked their father. She wiped away a tear. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want a chance to rebuild something with them. On your terms. I thought for a long moment. All right. Here's what I'm offering. We cancel today's hearing. I keep primary custody. You get visitation, supervised at first. Then we'll see. We split the assets like I proposed in the original filing. And you drop the claim against Ironcrest. And Mark? She asked, barely above a whisper. I'll keep cooperating with the investigation. That's non-negotiable. But I won't release the personal stuff. Unless he tries to come after me or the kids again. She nodded. He texted me last night. He's leaving the country. Got some consulting gig in Abu Dhabi. Convenient, I said. You going with him? No, she said quickly. My place is here. Trying to be a mom again. Even if I've lost you for good. As we walked toward our separate cars, she paused. That Wendy's card, that was cruel. I'm sorry, Ryan. You deserved better. I did, I said softly. And so did the kids. 7 months passed. Seasons changed. So did we. Mark ended up reaching a settlement with the SEC. No jail time, but his career was essentially over. Last I heard, he was in Abu Dhabi, working for a marketing firm that had no idea about his past. Samantha and I finalized the divorce with surprisingly little friction. True to her word, she showed up. Weekend visits, school functions, even Olivia's swim meets. She took a job at a smaller ad agency. Less prestige, but probably a better fit for her than chasing titles. Ironcrest kept growing. I stayed a major shareholder in Summit's parent company but stepped away from day-to-day involvement. My priority was Olivia and Ethan, rebuilding what we still had left. One chilly Sunday in November, Ethan and I were out back kicking the soccer ball around. Samantha pulled into the driveway, dropping off Olivia after her swim competition. Dad, I got second place. Olivia shouted, sprinting across the yard, medal swinging around her neck. That's amazing, I said, scooping her into a hug. Samantha followed behind, hands tucked in her coat. She cut 3 seconds off her best time. Coach thinks she's got a shot at regionals. We should celebrate, I said. Ethan and I were just about to grill burgers. Want to stay? Even I was surprised I asked. 7 months ago, I couldn't have imagined breaking bread with her again. Samantha looked caught off guard too. I'd like that, if the kids are okay with it. They both were. So the 4 of us sat around the patio table eating burgers and laughing cautiously. Conversation wasn't exactly easy, but it wasn't tense either. Just new. We talked about school, swim meets, Ethan's science fair project. Later, as Samantha helped me clear the plates, she paused and looked at me. This is nice, she said. Seeing you with them. You've always been the strong one. The steady one, Samantha said softly. I just didn't see it back then. I didn't change, I told her. I've always been the same guy. You just wanted something else. She nodded slowly. I did. And I ended up losing the things that actually mattered, chasing things that didn't. Not everything, I said, glancing toward the kids as they played with the neighbor's dog in the yard. You're still their mom. That hasn't changed. Later that night, after she left and the kids were asleep, I sat out on the back porch with a cup of coffee in my hands. The air was cool, quiet. I found myself reflecting on everything that had happened over the past year. The pain hadn't disappeared, but it didn't cut like it used to. It didn't define me anymore. I wasn't stuck in the shadow of what Samantha had done or how I'd responded. I'd moved forward. My phone buzzed. A message from David. Hamilton Infrastructure Project needs a lead engineer. They asked for you by name. Interested? I smiled. Life wasn't going back to what it was becoming something new. And maybe something better. Exactly 1 year after that unforgettable boardroom showdown, I stood beside a red ribbon at the opening ceremony for the Riverstone Bridge project. I was the lead engineer. I'd worked my own sustainable design into every part of the structure. A bridge built to last and to respect the land it stood on. Olivia and Ethan stood proudly by my side. They both begged to skip school for their dad's big day. Olivia was 14 now, growing into a confident young woman. She had her mother's beauty, but a steadier head on her shoulders. Ethan, now 11, had turned his boundless energy into soccer drills and science experiments. With the right support, his ADHD wasn't holding him back anymore. It was helping him thrive. After the ribbon was cut and the applause died down, a reporter came up to me. Mr. Clark, you turned down several high-profile jobs to lead this local bridge project. Why? I looked over at my kids before answering. Because some things matter more than prestige. This bridge connects real people, neighbors, families, including mine. And honestly, what could be more important than that? That evening, we celebrated at home with pizza and a pile of laughter. Samantha stopped by briefly with cupcakes and congratulations before heading off to her night class. She was back in school, chasing a degree in graphic design. Starting over, not through favors or connections this time, but through actual work and skill. After the kids were tucked in, I went to my home office to finish some paperwork for Ironcrest's newest initiative, a scholarship program for engineering students from low-income families. We were naming it after my father. He was the one who taught me that real strength doesn't come from job titles or bank accounts, but from the lives you touch and the values you refuse to compromise on. My phone buzzed again. Heard about your bridge project. Impressive work. Maybe I misjudged you. Mark Harris. I looked at the screen for a second. Then I set it down. That part of my story was over. I didn't need Mark's approval. Or Samantha's. Or anyone's, really. The Wendy's gift card still sat in my desk drawer, not as some bitter reminder of a low point, but as a marker of the moment everything started to change. Samantha had meant it as a final jab at a life she thought was falling apart. She had no idea that $15 coupon would spark not revenge, but a full-on rebirth. And now I understood something I hadn't before. True character isn't revealed when everything's going great. It's revealed when you're betrayed, broken, and doubted, and you choose not anger, but strategy. Not destruction, but integrity. As I shut my laptop and turned off the light, I felt something I hadn't in a long, long time. Peace. Real peace. I wasn't perfect. Never would be. But I was real. I wasn't living to meet someone else's expectations anymore. I was living by my own values. And in the end, that was the greatest win of all.